Okja is the latest film from director Bong Joon-ho, whose previous feature was 2013's Snowpiercer, one of my favourite films of the decade, and so I was really excited to check this film out because ever since I first heard of it, like several months back, I had no clue what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be some kind of monster movie. It was going to involve some kind of like animal. I heard that Tilda Swinton was coming back, Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be in it, but other than that, I really had no clue what this film was going to be about. I'd seen some set pictures and I really had no idea what this film was going to be about. But as we got closer to the film's release, I learnt more about it. I saw the trailers. I liked the look of the trailers. The trailers didn't blow me away, but I thought, I'm still really interested and really intrigued. I really want to check this film out. And now that I have finally seen Okja, which is now streaming worldwide on Netflix, I have to say, this film floored me. Not that I wasn't expecting it to be good. I thought it was going to be good, but it was even better than I thought it was going to be. And as I mentioned, Bong Joon-ho, the director of the film, his previous film was Snowpiercer, which came out back in 2013, 2014 time. That was a science fiction dystopian film with Chris Evans, also Tilda Swinton was there as well, and that film I thought was absolutely amazing. I still contend to this day that Snowpiercer is one of the best films of the decade. I really love that film, so going into this film I did have high expectations because it's the same director. Obviously it's a very different kind of film, but I was still really excited and really looking forward to seeing it, and it really delivered. As I said, it was even better than I thought it was going to be, because I thought it was going to be good, but I really didn't know what the film was going to be like per se. Because watching the trailers you think, oh, there's a danger of it being a bit cutesy, a bit sappy, are you going to get kind of emotionally invested? The creature, Okja, maybe it looks a little bit too cartoony. But after I've seen the film now, all those worries, any doubts or reservations I might have had just went completely out the window. It took a little while to get into it, I suppose, but the first act of the film is necessary setup to get engaged with Okja and the little girl, who also the young actress who played the little girl, I'm not going to try and pronounce her name because I would just butcher the pronunciation, but she was really great and she's a really big part of this film. She's essentially the main character really, and it's all about her and her relationship with Okja, this pig-like mammal, this super pig this little girl is looking after, and the whole movie essentially revolves around that. So we really need to kind of buy into the relationship they have and believe in it and be convinced by it, and she did a really great job. And also the CGI was really great. I had some worries, it's not like it's a massive big blockbuster, so is the CGI going to look good? But it did. The CGI was great. I'm pretty sure Netflix gave them all the money they needed because the CGI was really great. Not for one second did I get sucked out of the film thinking, oh, that's some cartoon CGI creature. No, it looked real, and that really added to the kind of believability to the film. That you never for one second thought that looks like a cartoon. You generally believed it was a real animal, even though it's this kind of fake, kind of really outlandish super pig. You believed it was a real animal, and that really added a lot of kind of believability to the film. They were really able to buy into the relationship Okja had with this little girl. And something else that really surprised me about this film, probably the biggest thing that I really didn't expect going in, is that it was actually a lot funnier than I was expecting. It was also very emotional as well, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But as well as being very emotional, which I kind of expected from the trailers, and this little girl being torn apart from this kind of creature she's kind of been raised alongside with, you expected to have a certain amount of kind of emotion to it. But what I really wasn't expecting was this film to be as funny as it was. It's essentially almost a black comedy. There's a lot of sequences in this film where it's kind of dark in terms of the subject matter and what the film's dealing with, but it's also very funny at the same time. And I really wasn't expecting that, and I absolutely love black comedies, and this film isn't a black comedy completely, like 100% of the time, but there are a lot of sequences throughout this film where it's almost like from a slapstick comedy or a black comedy, and I absolutely loved it. Like, it's because, as I said, it's dealing with quite dark, serious, almost depressing subject matter, but it's also kind of very funny at the same time. I loved what Bong Joon-ho brought to this film with that kind of darkly comedic edge to it, which I really wasn't expecting. It's there right from the beginning when Tilda Swinton's giving this speech about the super pigs. I actually really liked that. There were so many times throughout this film where I was really caught off guard, almost bursting into laughter. I was like, I really wasn't expecting this. Like, there's a particular sequence when Okja is like running down the streets, and it's almost like slapstick in a way. It's dealt with in a serious way, but at the same time it's very funny as well, and I just really like that. I wasn't expecting that, but I think it really works. I loved all the kind of the dark humour and how this film was almost essentially a black comedy. I really loved that. But as I said, this film is also very emotional. Like, even though it's very funny and there's a lot of kind of darkly comedic elements to it, it's also very moving and very powerful in terms of the emotion, and I was worried going in whether that was going to work for me. But over the course of the film, I just got more and more invested and emotionally engaged, and by the end of the film I was almost in tears. It worked that well, and I really wasn't expecting it to be as emotional as it was. Seriously, by the end of the film, and you know, if anything, you know anything about this film and what the subject matter it's dealing with, I mean, if you're a vegetarian and you don't eat meat, the final act of this film could almost be like a horror film. And even for someone like myself who does eat meat, I'm not a vegetarian anyway, but even for me, watching the end of this film, it is like horrific. It really makes you think, and you're like, oh my god. I mean, even though it's like a fictional film, it's not a real animal, things like this actually do happen in real life. And there's a lot of moments throughout this film where you're like, oh my god, it's almost difficult to watch, even though, like I said, it is like, you know, a fictional story. It's not a real animal, but it is like so just strikingly like real, and there's so many scenes that are quite uncomfortable to watch. I'm a big animal lover, and it was quite difficult, and especially if you're a vegetarian, you don't eat animals, this movie is probably going to be really hard to watch, especially that final act. It was for me, and I'm not a vegetarian, but oh my god, it almost becomes like a horror film at times. But it really was. It wasn't too heavy-handed. It didn't feel too overly political. It could have felt too much like propaganda, I suppose. There's a particular activist group in the film called the ALF about, you know, liberating animals and stopping violence against animals. That whole aspect could have felt too political and too much like propaganda, but it didn't. It felt real. It felt natural. It felt natural to the story, and it really worked for me, and I was really engaged. It got you thinking to the point where you're thinking about, this is kind of like what it's almost like in the real world. It was almost scary in that respect, and it was a lot more powerful because of that. And before I finish up here, I've got to talk about the performances from the cast. Every single person in this cast did a terrific job, and we've got some really big name actors like Tilda Swinton, Jake Gyllenhaal, Lily Collins is also in there as well as one of the kind of animal rights activists, and Paul Dano as the leader of that group as well. He was really great. Paul Dano keeps popping up in films every 2 seconds, and he's actually a really great actor. Every time he pops up in a film, he always catches me by surprise. So I'm like, oh, Paul Dano again. And also, you know, he was in Suicide Man. It's kind of similar to Suicide Man in a way, in that it seems like such a crazy, outlandish concept for a film, but it all works so incredibly well. And Paul Dano, again, in this film, does a really great job in selling his character to us. We buy into it. It feels real and genuine. And all the actors, the little girl, as I said, she was terrific. She was really the kind of the heart and soul of the movie. Tilda Swinton, again, she was in Bong Joon-ho's last film, Snowpiercer. Very different in that film, and she was also very different in this film. She really is one of the best actresses working today, probably, and she does an amazing job in this film. Again, her role is very kind of darkly comedic, in that she's almost like this kind of psychopath, but it's kind of funny in a way. And Jake Gyllenhaal too. I knew Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be in this movie in just a small role, but I really wasn't expecting his character to be as crazy and outlandish as he was. And for some people that might not work for them, but for me, it works so incredibly well. Jake Gyllenhaal is such a great actor. He's such a versatile actor. And almost every single role he does is completely different from the last. And here, he's playing this really crazy, insane, psychotic, almost outlandish, flamboyant kind of TV personality doctor. But it works. Like, if it was any other actor, it probably wouldn't have worked, and would have come off as a bit of a joke, and he wouldn't be able to have bought into it. But with Jake Gyllenhaal, he just really sold it. I really wasn't expecting his character to be as crazy and silly and flamboyant and outlandish as he was, but he did such a great job. I bought into it and I believed it, because there's people like that in the real world, these kind of really crazy, insane, over-the-top kind of like TV personalities who are almost like psychopathic in a way, or they're one person 1 minute and then suddenly they're putting on this really crazy, insane show for the cameras. And Jake Gyllenhaal in that role, I said, he's only got a small role in the film, he's not in the entire film, but every time he popped up, he did a really great job. I really wasn't expecting that kind of performance, or him to be playing that kind of character, but he did a really great job. So yeah, wrapping this up now, Okja really was a real big surprise for me. I thought it was going to be a good film, but it really floored me in that it was way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be good, but it even surpassed my expectations. It was a lot funnier than I was expecting, but it was also very emotional at the same time. And I think that's the biggest compliment I can give this film, because it's a very hard line to tread. Some very funny, almost darkly comedic moments to it, but it's also very emotional and very sad and almost distressing and upsetting at times. But it all came together to make a really great original film that really blew me away. It was really kind of one of the most moving and powerful films I've seen in quite a long time. Really, I don't have anything I could pin this film down as far as that wasn't very good. I thought it was a fantastic film. So overall, I'm going to give Okja 5 stars. Go out and support this movie on Netflix right now. I absolutely love this film. I thought it was really great. So there we have it. That wraps up my review of Okja. Have you seen the film? And if so, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this and you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to see more. And if you missed my last film review, then be sure to go ahead and click over here to catch up on my last review, or perhaps down here to catch up on another one of my recent videos. But with that said, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.